welcome back to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelly and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be environmentally friendly in a modern context. It has been a while, it's been about a month. I really appreciate the break. I was actually taking a college level environmental course, so it was really intense, it was really engaging, and it was kind of hard, so the extra time let me focus on my studies, and I'm very proud to report that I did I scraped by with a B minus, so I got an 80.66 on my final grade, and I'm very proud of that. I learned a lot, and moving in future videos, we're going to be talking about a lot of what I learned. So I really am grateful for the time off. Of course, I want to get back to the channel so we can try to get these videos posted every 2 weeks. Well, again, I am very happy to be back, and I figured that since we're back and we're close to the holiday season, I wanted to go ahead and talk about holiday makeup. This is something that you're probably seeing a lot of right now. It's very popular. When you go to the stores, you see all of the pretty, palettes of eyeshadow and blush and things like that. And I just wanted to talk about a little bit of the modern context of that and, how you should handle it, especially close to the holiday season. Now, makeup is a huge thing. It really kind of exploded in the last 10 years or so, since the advent of social media. We've talked before, the moment that everybody has video cameras, once everyone has social media access, every single person can become a brand, right? The way that you project or the products that you use, a reflection of yourself. So, the moment that we as a culture kind of moved more towards social media, and especially when we go through times like pandemics where you can't really go out, you kind of pride yourself on your physical appearance, and what way does that better, especially for women or for anyone who wants to look pretty. You use makeup, right? It's almost like painting your face. So now the problem with makeup is that it tends to get a little toxic and a little wasteful. And of course, it's a delicate line, and we're going to be talking, here on this channel, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of it. Now, the first pro of makeup is that, of course, it does make you look prettier. Since the dawn of time, you do not want to have dark circles. You don't want to, if you have small lashes, you want to emphasize your pretty eyes, all of those things. So, of course, buying makeup is the best way to do that. Now, where some of the cons come in is makeup, just like fashion, and we talk a lot about fashion on this channel, is very subject to media influence, both by people who are influencers and also just media marketing in itself. It's funny, when I see, when I watch YouTube, and when I watch, especially like Instagram and things, and TikTok for sure, you see people sell, makeup, and it tends to be more about the theme of the makeup than it is about what the product actually does for you. Like, for instance, and I'll be the first to admit, Modern Girl, probably about 10, 13 years ago, when the movie Divergent came out, I was fascinated by the books, and I was fascinated by the plot of it, that the moment that they came out with these makeup palettes and the colors of all the different factions, I was sucked into it too. But the thing with that is that the makeup, the actual makeup that they're selling, is pretty cheap. And really what you're buying into is, what you're really putting your buying dollar towards, is the actual packaging and how cool it looks. The actual eyeshadow is nothing special, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. It's the actual packaging that you're fascinated by. I almost think of it like when you're going to a rock concert and you buy the t-shirt because you want to feel like you're part of the, phenomenon. Makeup kind of gets that way too. And, it's funny, that there was a bit of irony, Divergent came out around the same time. And then, later the Hunger Games came out. And it's so funny, if you read the Hunger Games, it talks about this superficial capital lifestyle that's all about, how you look and how superficial it is versus the districts where you're feeling really poor. And it's funny, I saw marketing campaigns for the makeup for the 12 different districts, and it was the exact same thing as the movie marketing for Divergent. It was just, look at this, and same thing with the Barbie movie that came out. The makeup brand is called NYX, and it's a very cheap brand. It's not, it's like, it's like 12-year-old makeup. It's not going to give you any quality for smoothness or color or anything like that. It's not particularly long lasting or anything like that. It's just they pay money for the packaging, and the packaging is what you're really buying. And I'm actually guilty of this too. Just recently, I'm a big fan of the Hulu series Only Murders in the Building, and Selena Gomez has a makeup line called Rare. And she did a special marketing campaign where it comes in this box with all the drawers, and it has all of these things. And the marketing for it was like, the other thing is another marketing tactic is scarcity. They'll only make so many of them, or they'll put that little flashing ticker on the website that says almost sold out, running low in stock. So you'll buy, right? It's all marketing strategies. But I saw it, and you had to actually enter a contest to try to win one of them. And to be honest, I if you watched my organization video, I just did a par down of my makeup recently. I don't use all of it, and we'll get to that again in a minute. How much, if you have 10 million eyeshadows, how long is it going to take you to actually use all of them? So nothing in the contents of the box. It's almost like I wanted the box more than the makeup. How I think of a cat, when you buy a cat a present and it just wants to sit in the bag or sit in the box, or if you buy a little kid a present and they just want to play in the box, that's kind of all I wanted, was just the box. I didn't really need any of the makeup. The other thing that's a really bad problem with modern makeup is that everybody is a brand. Every celebrity that you look at, they're able to start their own makeup brand if they pay enough money. But none of the contents of the makeup or the packaging is recyclable, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute. So it does get kind of like we're in a very mass-produced world, and it's a little scary that anybody and their cousin can just slap down some money and say, hey, make this eye cream, hey, make this lip balm, hey, make this eyeshadow, and just slap my name on it. And it's really not any different. The contents of the makeup are no better than any of the other cheap varieties that you see at your drugstore, but you are paying more than 3 times the price, and the packaging is all that you're really, you're almost paying more money to invest in the person who's founded that makeup brand. And I'm not knocking it, I'm not shading anyone, because, like, some of these brands have really good core morals, but the problem is I don't invest in it, or I don't pay money for it unless I legitimately need a lip gloss. And to be honest, I'm thrown off by the fact that there's no talk about how to recycle packaging. So this is a perfect bridge into what time it is now. It is Christmas time, and you are going to see all of the pretty makeup sets. And again, some of them might be more higher quality, like for instance, like you go to your high-end department store like Macy's or Nordstrom or Lord & Taylor, or any of those high-name brands. They're going to carry quality cosmetics. And things like, Clinique, Too Faced, what's the one that has really good, Tarte. They're going to be selling these big eyeshadow palettes, multi-palettes. They'll be throwing in extra, gift care packages that have all those little miniatures in it. And my biggest thing is that just like we overconsume clothes and we overconsume purses and jewelry and, and it's very cheaply produced, we overconsume makeup like nobody's business. And I'm actually going to post a few videos down below if you hear, just if you, after you watch my video now, if you just Google here, if you just do a search of on YouTube of makeup purges, oh my God, guys, that cringy. Okay, I am, I'm an eco girl in a modern world, but I was squicked out by looking at the sheer drawers of these palettes that you would never use up in a million years. So when it comes to these palettes, they're the Christmas time's prime time. We've got, it's the time of year, holiday season, however you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, it is gift giving season, and we get very, very wasteful with especially the makeup. And especially if you're a makeup connoisseur, just like with fashion, you kind of like use it once, you get all excited about buying it, and again, that's another video keyword you can type here on YouTube, this palette, it's brand new, it's so cool. If you search for a palette that was the it palette 6 months ago, how often is it used now? Now there's a new it palette coming out that's, the bomb one, right? And we keep buying them, and there's like 12 eyeshadows in it. And the first problem is all of the eyeshadows, and sometimes some of these palettes, there's out of 12 eyeshadows, there might be some really bold colors, and there might be some really neon ones. And you gotta kind of ask yourself, okay, like Mermaid Core, how often am I gonna go out with, metallic green eyeshadow on? But yet you have this big square of it in a set that, so that's the first thing. How often are you actually going to wear these bold colors? And before you go out and buy more, look at the ones you already have. The second thing is that the contents of the makeup, even if it's high quality makeup, and there's definitely a scale, the cheap stuff is probably going to have more toxic stuff in it, but even the expensive stuff still has some bad contents in it. For instance, one of the big things that eyeshadow and especially compacts like powders, they have a lot of talc in them. And talc, if you Google talc, talc has been controversial for decades. Since the 80s, they had been talking about talc powders. Talc has been used since the 40s and on, but it's usually used as like a baby powder and as a feminine powder. And it's been known to give people cancer. And, and ovarian cancer, regular cancer. And actually in the 90s, there was a makeup brand called Bare Minerals. And I was actually kind of excited about this in the 90s too, because it seemed like a very simple, everything was powder based, like all you needed was brushes and the powder. And you'd see, and they'd have foundations, and the foundations would actually have sunscreen contained. And I just kind of liked it because it was more of a powder form. But the problem, even when Bare Minerals came out, there was whisperings about, oh, it has talc in it, it has this in it. So some of the three major chemicals that are in both eyeshadow and in powders that you have to be very careful with is talc. Talc is actually being banned by Johnson & Johnson. It has been proven to be carcinogenic. And so what they're doing is they're taking it out of their baby powders by 2025. And when you think about it, talc has been the primary source ingredient for almost 70 years. So that's a big deal. So talc is in a lot of face powders. The other thing that's in it is zinc and mica. Mica is a mineral. And the problem is that when you are mining, when you're getting zinc and you're getting mica, you are drilling to get that. Those are minerals. And the problem is that a lot of those minerals, especially mica, is found the same place that you drill for asbestos, aka the stuff that's in, insulation, the stuff that gets in your lungs and doesn't get back out. And the problem is you think of how long women have worn makeup. I mean, women have worn makeup since the 40s. If we've been using mica and drilling for mica, the more, just like when you drill for any other minerals, they get over harvested and you have to drill further and dig harder. So therefore, all of that mica that we're harvesting to put in your, the Christmas palette that you're kind of using once and forgetting about and then purging 8 months later is really gonna be closer to asbestos, and you're putting that all over your face. The other thing is that when you think about eyeshadows and blushes and powders, they are airborne, you know, so if there is little pieces of asbestos mixed in with the mica, you probably are inhaling it. And mica's not good for your skin. Zinc's not always really good for your skin. You've probably read about some of the, zinc is a big time use in sunscreens. And they've been doing, there's been a lot of studies that talk about spray sunscreens and you being able to inhale it and the way that it soaks into your skin. So basically makeup has a ton of chemicals in it. A lot of them can be airborne. And you know, what's happening is we're just slathering it on our face. And so a lot of these makeups, especially the cheaper ones, and again, you know, you might be dropping $50 because it's the Barbie phone, but NYX is the cheapest. It would be all zinc and it would be all mica and talc and all the stuff that gives you cancer. And you just know that if it's really, really cheap, do you think that they're filtering it for any asbestos? No. So that's kind of a consideration. There's one other video I'm going to post down below, and this was by a great, I came across this and I just thought it was very inspirational. It was a young lady who films in her bedroom too, so mad props for just, and I promise I'll have a change of background very soon. But I thought her video was very inspirational because she talks about, we talk a lot about here on this channel about just like the rules for buying for clothes, the rules for buying makeup are the same. And one of the biggest things is monitoring impulse. And believe me, I feel you. Just like I told you, I was intrigued by the Only Murders in the Building makeup set. But I really had to stop and say, okay, is it, other than the box, what is it that I'm really attracted to? Do I need another lip gloss? Do I need another blush? The answer is no, I don't. I've already pared down and I'm barely using what I have. The other thing that video talks about is she talks about all the pitfalls of you being tempted to buy new makeup and why. So, you know, that goes a long way with the environment. You know, you don't have to drop money. You can save your money, save the environment by just kind of understanding where that need is coming from. The other thing that she asks, which is a good question, is other than the makeup, the eyeshadows that you use now, how long would it take you to actually use them up? So that's the other question you kind of have to ask is like, okay, you know, if I've already got a palette of 12 different shades and, you know, the bright green or the bright blue one, how often I'm going to use it? And again, that beautiful gold color that would look great with the red dress that you're wearing to Christmas, after that one night, after that one use, how long would it take you to use it up? The other thing is how much space is it taking in your house? And again, I'll post a few of those purging videos. They're kind of cringy. These women spent thousands of dollars on makeup, and the other thing that makes me really cringe is they're just throwing it into a garbage bag. You know, you barely used it and you threw it away. Which brings us to the third thing. Makeup expires. Makeup is not good forever. So that's one of the things you have to think about going into it. Most foundations, if it's a liquid foundation, you might have like about 6 months to a year, probably more towards the year mark. If it's a powder foundation, that can get a lot of bacteria buildup. Because when you're using brushes, you know, if you get acne, you got oil on your face, you're putting the brush on your face and you're putting it into the pad. And I'll post a few videos also about a good way to clean brushes. Hot water with a little bit of detergent and pour like maybe a capful of white vinegar in it. Let it soak for a good 20 minutes to 30 minutes and then rinse it really good. That disinfects your brushes really well, and brushes are a good way to be more eco-friendly. Sponges are probably the worst, those contouring sponges. Those are just big bacteria balls, and you end up throwing them away, and they're not usually made of natural fibers. You can find natural sponges, but that's not really going to give you good coverage. The other thing that's bad about sponges is they absorb a lot of the product. It's like, you know, you pay $50 for a foundation, and 3/4 of it is just going into your sponge and not really getting on your face. The other thing is sponges do carry a lot of bacteria too, even if you wash them quite often. They have a pretty short end life, and they're expensive too. So usually just using your fingers is a good way because, you know, it provides better and you can keep your fingers clean before you apply makeup. A few of the other things that I'm going to post below is videos that actually ask people how expired their makeup is, because that's always a eye opener. You know, if you go, and this is my challenge to you, if you go over to your makeup stand and look at the makeup that you bought last Christmas and be like, how often did I wear it since last year, and is it already expired? The last thing I'm going to post is ways that you can disinfect your makeup itself. Most eyeshadows are good for a good long time. Sometimes they can last 12 to 24 months. And there is a way that you can kind of disinfect, because it's really the top layer of the powder that is really susceptible to germs or, you know, bacteria. So there is a way that you can kind of spray and, you know, disinfect it. Same thing goes for lipsticks. When you turn the tube of the lipstick, if you can kind of look at it, if it looks like there's little, you can see if bacteria is growing. You can actually see it. And I'm very careful with my lipsticks. I look at them quite often. You know, if even before it gets to that point, you can spray it with alcohol water, let it sit for a little while, and then just wipe down the excess, and, you know, until you get a chance to use that lipstick up. But the video that I'm going to post below, I forget the name, I'll put her name up on the screen, but it was a great video. She also had a good tip about trying to try. What it is sometimes we end up accumulating makeup that we don't use or need because, of course, and this is a valid point, you don't know how well the makeup's going to work for you until you try it. So that is where getting samples or going to the store to kind of test things out is most helpful. I know that's hard if it's a drive, you know, you don't want to, do carbon emissions driving just to try something and have it not work out. But, but it's much better than, you know, I think we really are in a culture where we'll buy a full-size product, have it shipped to us, have all that carbon in the air. And then if we don't like it, we'll ship it back, and then more carbon, and then it just gets thrown away. Right? So, but trying to try also applies to influencers, and that's the biggest reason. You know, it's more than just let me test it out to see if it looks good on me. Most of the time it was because, you know, this famous person tried it and said it was the best thing, let me buy it. And then you can't return it, or it doesn't look good on you. And just like with fashion, it's the influencing culture where TikTok made me buy it. And you tried to try, and then you ended up stuck with it. And that's where a lot of waste gets accumulated. The last thing that kind of plays into makeup that you want to think about before you go into it is that a lot of makeup, the packaging is not recyclable. Not recyclable at all. And that especially goes for eyeshadows. A lot of eyeshadows now do come in cardboard packaging, which is marginally better. Like a lot of the, I've seen Tarte and Too Faced go in, but then there are a lot of makeups that come in acrylic, like hard plastic acrylic. And it's what we call number 7. Basically, number 7 plastics are any plastics that can't be identified as instantly recyclable. Usually 1 through 3 is more of the viable recyclable. And the problem with plastic is that anytime plastic comes in touch with any type of chemical like oil, it's going to be even that much harder to be recycled. And then recycling can only happen about 1 to 8 times in its lifetime, and even then it's only 70% recycled. So that any way you look at it, that plastic tube is going to end up in a landfill. And that's another thing that I get kind of mad at with all these celebrities. Every single freaking celebrity you see is coming out with their own makeup line. None of them talk about the recyclability of their packaging. And that really annoys me. Now TerraCycle does have a makeup recycling program, but there's a lot of exclusions with it. Like you can't recycle perfume bottles, certain types, admittedly I have an eye cream that comes in an acrylic pump. Ideally, it would be great if and this is where we really need to go with it, is that the makers of the makeup really need to be responsible for the end life. They need to be able to take their packaging back and use it again. Now, the one non-gloom and doom thing about this is that some of makeup has not always been that way. Like for instance, in a more eco-friendly sense, I have seen that Body Shop does have an acrylic palette, but what it is that it's a permanent plastic palette, and you can pop out the squares. You know, you can customize what makeup squares go in, and so you can just replace just that little piece and keep the palette itself. That is more eco-friendly. And the square, when you're done with it, I believe that you can send it back to Body Shop. Now another one, and this is old school, is Mary Kay. This is actually a blush that of course every single time I like a product it gets discontinued. But this is a blush that I've used for a long time, and yes, it's a hard plastic, but the nice thing, and Mary Kay has done this since the 60s, is that you can pop it out. It's the same thing. You can just take out, oops, as I throw it around, you can take out this piece and order a new one and keep the palette. So that, you know, it's not completely ideal, but this Mary Kay has done this for decades, you know, just by the replacement. Now I'm not 100% sure whether or not they recycle these, you know, like the plastic part, but they could absolutely do that, because the inside is just basically, you know, a little tin content of the blush. One other maker that does do that, at least with their compacts, not with their pump liquid, but Estee Lauder does the same thing. There's a little hole right here, and you can do the same thing. I always just use you know, there's you can just pop it out and replace it, and the inside of it is just, it's just an aluminum circle that you can pop in. And again, you know, so this is not uncommon. Estee Lauder's been around since the 50s. Mary Kay has been around since the 60s. You know, so it's not all gloom and doom with makeup, but if we actually got, this is the more, you know, sustainable, where you can actually get inserted cartridges. Now, one other makeup brand that does it, which is a more eco one, is Elate. Elate has little bamboo, so they have, you know, wooden palette boxes, and what they have is they have little circle magnets, and they sell the replacements just in aluminum squares. So there is no plastic around the aluminum. Once you're done using up all the product, you could recycle the aluminum, or I don't know if Elate has a return program, but those would be eco-friendly ways of making sure that you're not just throwing this into a trash bag. I'm telling you, these purging videos disturb me. The other thing is it's major overconsumption. It's a waste of money, and you know, it's just, it's fueling us in the wrong way. It's fueling us in the wrong way, and it just upsets me to see someone. The other thing is the amount of space all this takes up, guys. I mean, I know that I purged my makeup area down to nothing, but that just upset me seeing all that waste. Now, the last thing that I'm going to post below, and this was kind of inspirational, instead of throwing all of your makeup away, I did see an interesting video, and this is a good way to actually use your makeup instead of throwing it away, because there's so much waste. I did see a wonderful video that talked about using makeup as paint. You know, you use makeup to paint your face, but I saw that a video that showed that you can take your old makeup palettes and just add water to it. And when you add water to it, you can actually do watercolor art. So I am going to try this. I have a few of the eyeshadows that you know, that I haven't really used too much. I'm gonna see if maybe I can do some painting. I do in the new year. I have a glass pen, so I've been wanting to kind of my New Year's resolution is actually take some time to do more art with my glass pen. But that's a good way for you to kind of use up the shadows that you really don't use too much. Maybe you have some that are too dark or too bold or too bright, but you want to find another purpose for them. And I'll let you know how it goes. I mean, it seems like a good idea, and watching these videos was very inspirational. But, you know, the other thing is it's not all gloom and doom. If somebody ends up, you know, if you're a makeup lover, use your best judgment, but definitely go into it thinking, okay, how often, how long would it take me to actually use this up? And is it actual colors that, you know, can I use all of the palette? Maybe go with smaller palettes, go with brands that have, you know, a better eco rating. Also look at the ingredients. The ingredients are really important. But I hope this helps, and it's so good to see you guys again. But you know, just going into your holiday, I hope this doesn't, you know, this shouldn't be gloom and doom. It's just, it's helping us to be mindful. That way, you know, once the holiday is over and we're looking at January and the new year, it's just less that, you know, less in means less out, which is always, you know, better for the environment and for yourself, right? So, all right, guys, well, it's so good to see you again, and I am going to try to post another video next week since it's been a while. So right around Christmas Day, I'll try to post an extra video for you. So I'll see you then. Bye.